Welcome into CHGO White Sox Podcast. This is presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Alongside me, over there, we're going to go to Vinnie first. Ooh. The man with the mustache. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He wrote an article today, and that's going to be our main topic. Lucas Giolito and the White Sox, can an extension be made, and how is the lockout going to affect that? And the man in the middle, our guy, Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. That's Lawrence backwards. And guys, today we have a little bit of an icebreaker to get it off and going. Herb, I'm going to go to you first because, last time we talked about our weekend, but we got a Twitter message here, and it's a question asking for a first-time White Sox fan. This is their American League team. What jersey should they pick, past or present? So I want you guys, and this is the icebreaker we're doing today here first. You get to pick one current player and one past player to have a fan select for their jersey. Who are you going to go with? Herb, give me a current player, give me a past player for Sox jerseys.
Well, I don't like to put other people's names on my back, so I always put Lawrence because I'm a narcissist. But going in this spirit of the rule, I'll go with Anderson Severino. He's on the 40-man right now. You've never heard of him because I don't think he's played a Major League game. So it's very, very, contrarian. That's how I like to roll with it. And imagine if Anderson Severino makes it. You are his hipster fan. Hey, man, I believed in this man before he believed in himself.
Right, or you get the Tim Anderson 12 jersey because Jimmy Rollins had 7.
Oh, yeah. And so,
buy in early.
You get a jersey like that, you're going to be the only person at that stadium with the Severino jersey. What about Luis Severino? Yankees don't have names in their jerseys. Shut up.
And outside of the Severino family, who will be, everyone will have a Severino jersey for the White Sox. What about you, Vinny, for current players?
I cannot get over the fact that Herb just recommended someone who's a brand new White Sox fan that they start their fandom by getting an Anderson Severino jersey.
That would ingratiate yourselves to every White Sox fan. Man, this guy knows a little bit more about this team than I do.
I'm glad
this was the
Sox guy?
Mercy. Oh, my
Shout out to James Fox Mike Rankin.
I totally get going a little off the board. You know what I mean? It'd be too easy to recommend Luis Roberts or even, Aloy or TA as fun as a jersey that would be to have for a fan. I'm going to go with Liam Hendricks, and I'm going to specify, too, I'm gonna break a rule here in a way. I'm going to bend a rule is what I'm going to do.
If you're being more specific, it's not a rule.
Liam Hendricks, what you get, you got to go 83 throwbacks.
83.
Those are my favorite jersey that they currently wear, and then I will answer my favorite old-time jersey when we move on to past player.
I think that my favorite current jersey they wear is the blacks. I love the good guys in blacks. I'm a sucker for that. All of my jerseys outside of my Mark Burley camo jersey is a black one. My Gordon Beckham and
that's very Mark Burley though. The camo jersey is very Mark Burley. You could go hunting with him down in Missouri.
And it's very much my dad to pick out a camo Mark Burley jersey to give me. But I would say Tim Anderson. Obviously, my last name is Anderson. I know that is a big rule, a faux pas to put your last name or anyone's
not in Herb's house.
Yeah, not in Herb's house. You put on a man's number though, because you have Lawrence 23, so you're putting Robin Ventura's number on your back
because he's awesome. He was an awesome White Sox. I will never get traded from the White Sox, even though they try. Some people do want me traded from the White Sox fan base. I will stay a White Sox. Guess what? Albert Bell was here for 2 years. Gone. If I would have got that jersey, that jersey's done now. I can't even wear it anymore. I can wear my Lawrence jersey I got in 1996 forever.
Sean, you should go with Sean Anderson Severino on the back of yours.
And
compromise.
And have 7 be the number.
Yeah.
We'll go real custom. I'm going to go with Kirk here, though. Kirk M saying, just joining a little late, but someone have better said a Garcia jersey. I'm going to go with the longest 10-year White Sox. Why not?
Whoa, but
they
which
just signed him
Garcia?
to an extension.
Which Garcia? Are you going Leori? Are you going Avi? Are you going Willie? Are you going Freddie?
The rule is current White Sox, so it'd have to be the longest tenured White Sox.
There's only one at the moment.
Leary Legend. So we're going to go with Leary Legend. That'd be the current player I'd go
You
with.
can get the Garcia jersey, and it's both.
Well, so my former one that I said on Twitter, you can just get a Reed jersey. So it could be either A.J. Reed or Addison Reed, if you want to. Yeah. Both White Sox legends right there. So that wouldn't be my real choice, but you could go
What about
with
Jeremy Reed?
Was he a White Sox?
Yeah.
Oh, these are deep cuts now.
I think did he come over with Freddie?
He was in the Freddie trade, I think. Yeah.
I mean, guys, we know Vinny's going to bring the deep cuts
Always.
all the time, no matter what we're
Jeremy
talking
Reed.
about.
Got to get those Jeremy Reed mentions.
So let's
up.
go to
Looks
you.
like you're going to say Ben Davis next.
Miguel Olivo. With your current or former player, you give the little bit of a tease there that you're going to give your favorite White Sox jersey of all time. What you going with?
My favorite White Sox jersey of all time is the 70s red pinstripes. And you can do this if you're joining the new fan who asked for the info here. There were no names on the back of those jerseys back in the day.
Perfect.
So you can go with number 14, and so it could be an authentic retro Bill Melton jersey. And you can go with Paul Konerko as well. They wore a Konerko team, whatever year that was, wore those as alternates, and so you can go ahead and represent both the classic number 14s in White Sox lore with that one.
That probably
Didn't he
was like
date
a
Barbara
2012, right? Because that would have been around 72 to celebrate that
Could be.
anniversary, I'm guessing. Jimbo, our Croatian guy, Jimbo, says he wants a rookie Frank Thomas 35 script, the 1990 Chicago script. I know you're a fan of those jerseys.
They're awesome. But I was wondering, didn't Bill Melton go out with Barbara Eden?
That's in the ether, yeah.
You should
Again, you guys
definitely
are
get that
losing me
jersey.
here.
You know who Barbara Eden is?
Oh,
I Dream of Jeannie. Come on.
I Dream of Jeannie?
I know this. I know the show. I don't know the lady.
That's the main.
Is that
that's
Jeannie?
Jeannie, yeah.
That's Jeannie.
She's still with us,
Well,
too.
congratulations, Jeannie, and congrats for being alive too. I mean,
What a jerk.
I mean,
Wow.
the congrats is to
Hates
Bill.
Jose Abreu's
Herb sounds-
2020 year.
Herb sounds surprised that she's alive. Well, and she's still alive. Like
Still
that's
with us. She's in her 80s, 90s, whatever it is.
congratulations. I don't know. Congratulations, you're not dead. It's great to hear.
We got to work on your tone.
Oh my god.
That's
all right,
what my
Herb,
wife tells me all the time, by the way.
Herb, former Jersey. Who are you going with?
I mean, of course, I would go with Robin Ventura, but that's for me. I would say if we're talking about players in the current atmosphere and staying with the contrarian atmosphere too, Matt Davidson jersey, a 24. Matt Davidson. Remember he hit the 3 home runs in Kansas City?
He did do that.
I was a big-time Matt Davidson guy, even though he didn't. I like players who flame out with the White Sox quickly. I was a huge Mark Teahan fan, T-Time, 23. He sucked here with the White Sox. I was a fan of Matt Davidson. He had a flash in the pan here with the White Sox, and now he's toiling on some minor leagues. And, of course, I'm a Your Nation fan. So if you are one of my favorite players, you're most likely going to suck. But those jerseys are going to be fire, though. 24 Matt Davidson would be fire.
That would be fire. I think if we're talking, what's your favorite White Sox jersey of all time while we're having this discussion?
The vest.
Oh, yeah, I'm a fan of the vest.
Yeah, the vests are my
05
favorite.
vests.
Yeah, they got rid of them, and I was like, why? Like they haven't even brought them back for like a nostalgia thing. They played well in those in the playoffs. I think the first time they lost, they stopped wearing them and then got to their traditional uniforms. But I'm a fan of those. They should go back to them immediately.
Alongside Vinny, I'm going with a different color for the pinstripes. I like the blue 60s jerseys where they use like royal blue, if you could see here. I didn't give it to our graphics department, so we can't pull it up so you guys can see it.
Yeah.
But
That works.
Thanks.
You can go
But
Louis
me and Herb can see it,
You
so
can go
that's
Louis
what counts.
Aparicio, go with the retired
Screw
jersey,
you.
and the retired number.
People
Yeah,
watching.
1964 White Sox. I think Lawrence is looking it up right now. But I would go with the blue pinstripe. I'm a big fan of that one. But we haven't seen vests yet. We haven't seen red pinstripe jerseys yet. We haven't seen blue pinstripe jerseys yet. But we have seen Lucas Giolito in the classic black pinstripes. You can see the Jose Abreu bobblehead rocking that jersey right now. And those are the away jerseys right there, the powder blue. And Lawrence is only showing us. I guess he's showing Vinny. All right, he's trying to get to it. But
You know who liked those uniforms?
Who?
Barbara Eden.
enough to date Phil Melton, apparently. It's a classic, like powder blue. We see
Looks
the
good.
Rangers coming back with
Is
the
that John
powder
Garland
blue jersey.
It looks, or Freddie Garcia in there. It looks.
Well, so they
think
wore
that was
those in
Miguel
Oakland.
Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think it's Miguel Gonzalez. They wore those in Oakland. They did a 70s throwback, kind of turned the clock back. Jose Abreu was wearing the full powder blue jerseys in Oakland. I think that was 2014. So yeah, they brought him back
to
the
the
away
viewers.
jersey.
Yeah.
If you're watching
Sorry,
and/or
I
listening, just look up
can't do that.
1964 uniforms.
You'll
White
find
Sox.
them.
Pretend you're looking at a Google image search database along with us.
But as we were talking
Oh, you
about,
see it? Oh, that's awesome, isn't it?
as we were talking about, guy who wore the black pinstripe jerseys, Lucas Giolito. He's coming up for an extension soon. Vinny, you wrote about this on allchgo.com. Why don't you give us, a little bit of a briefing here? What's the current situation with the Sox and Lucas Giolito? And you wrote about this in terms of how the lockout affects this. What's the biggest takeaway you think from your article?
Yeah, well, I think the idea is that the lockout could jeopardize things or make things harder. We'll put it that way. I mean, you look at what the White Sox have done with their young players recently, specifically guys who have yet to hit the major leagues in Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert, but others too, in Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson several years before those guys. They like to get these deals done in the offseason, and in the case of some of the names I mentioned, during spring training. And now the offseason is going to be shortened to a few days, probably, between the time the lockout ends and the time spring training begins, whenever that might be. If giving Lucas Giolito a contract extension was on Rick Hahn's to-do list, it's now one of however many things that he has to accomplish in a very, very short amount of time. And if you are focused on building a championship roster for this 2022 season, maybe getting a deal done with Lucas Giolito, talking with his representatives over the course of a spring, let's say, or the course of an entire offseason, it's out the window. The calendar has been ripped away from you. And so certainly it's not to say that it won't happen or that it can't happen, but when you're talking about a guy who, in Rick Hahn, who has said the White Sox prefer to get these things done outside of that regular season, there might not be the time to get that done, or there might be a time crunch that could make it a less, give them less of a chance to get something done before this season starts.
And right now, Giolito is currently in arbitration, Herb. He's on the payroll, basically, for 2022 and 2023. He is the player rep for the Sox for the MLB negotiations right now.
Are you
so maybe
saying that
he'll try to
he's
not
on the team for next year?
He is on the team for next year.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
sure.
Head Farmer. Are you worried, though, if they don't get a deal done this year, 2023, him then being a pending free agent, is there a clock where you need to get it done this year? Because, if he's in that 2023 year, he's getting that much closer to being a free agent, to being on the free market, to really have his value skyrocket if teams are willing to pay.
And speaking to what Vinnie just said, I think those conversations have sailed. You're this close to free agency. If you're Lucas Giolito, why have the discussion unless they're giving you way over market money? And, with the White Sox, I know you've done some number crunching. That's not typical. And for pitchers in particular, giving long-term extensions, I think they've given two, Sale and I think you did the numbers. It was Bummer.
Sale, Bummer, and Lynn are the three pitchers that have gotten extended.
Yeah, and Sale was 5, Bummer was 5. And so it's a long time thing that Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't really like to give out long-term deals to pitchers, and he's smart about it. Sometimes you need to go over that. When you see a guy like Mark Burley, okay, he's not going to break down. Let's give him a long-term deal instead of giving the money to John Danks. Cool. Now, Lucas Giolito, not Mark Burley necessarily, but a guy that, in the same vein, fans love him. Right. He's a guy that you see as a White Sox, even though he's played a couple games as a Washington National. Same thing as Paul Konerko. He is a White Sox lifer. You need to lock this guy down for a long time. But if I'm Lucas Giolito and his agency, no way. I'm going to have 30 teams bid for my services if I'm 2 years away from free agency instead of just one. Yeah, it's too late for this year. I think that's sailed. And once you get to next year in 2023, his last year of arbitration, he's free after the season's over. I'll bet on myself, and I can go back to the White Sox, but they're going to have to give me a market deal.
Yeah, we have a graphic here showing kind of the extensions that Rick Hahn has been able to make as the GM. He took over in October of 2012. Those are the list of extensions that I could find. I might be missing any, so sorry to Rick Hahn, because this is what you do best, are these extensions. And you can see the pitchers up there, Sale, Bummer, Lynn. The only one, though, that is mid-season is the last one, July 2021.
Right, but I think that also, should speak to the fact that this is not a done deal in terms of Giolito not getting one. Now, obviously, everything Herb said was correct, and Giolito knows the business of baseball. He could be a guy who goes into this process of free agency with a little bit more knowledge than most might, just because he's the player rep. He is interested in achieving the goals of the union, that kind of thing. And obviously, he would have earned the right to do so with the way that he has pitched. But you can see right at the top of that list, July of 2021, the White Sox prefer to get things done during the offseason, but it's not like they are incapable of getting things done during the season. And Lance Lynn right there, that's a hefty payday, a per season payday right there. Giolito, obviously much younger, would probably be looking for something longer term, but it just goes to show you that the White Sox can make an offer that would make somebody well paid.
And going back to that graphic too, and we don't have to pull it up, but in March 2020, they extend Moncada. What Rick said about that was it took 2 weeks, and he said that Moncada was on board from the start. Comments from Giolito after the season in November said that he wants to be a White Sox for life and that they haven't had any talks yet. So it's not crazy. It's not out of the White Sox history to get a deal done within the possible 3 weeks of spring training that they will have. So again, it is something that if they even just want to buy out his arbitration years in good faith, like, hey, we'll do this for you because we think that we can make you, a nice offer when you become a free agent. Like maybe there is an olive branch extended here because something that, Fred says right here, Sox need right field, second base, another starter, another reliever, and trade bad Kimbrel, right? Like, yes, they need to do that in 2022, but also like Giolito is a large part of this window, in my opinion.
Well, and I'll say this too. That list should show you why the White Sox are in the position they are right now. I think when you talk about a window, when you talk about a contention window for this team in which to win championships, that window was built on those extensions, on making sure Luis Robert isn't going anywhere for X years, making sure Eloy Jimenez isn't going anywhere for X years, and to add a pitcher, a big-time pitcher who, just yesterday we were talking about, is he the ace of this staff? Even if he isn't, he's one of the best pitchers in the American League. To add a big-time pitcher to that list to go along with guys who are a little bit younger like Cease and Kopech, you've already got a middle of the lineup locked up for well into the future. To be able to lock in a rotation well into the future would kind of ensure or boost the chances of that contention window staying as wide open as possible.
And I said the other day, Lucas Giolito is very savvy. Him and his dad and his agency, when Mike Rizzo drafted him the 16th overall pick back in the day, he had elbow problems already. So he was supposed to get picked first, but people are like, all right, he has elbow problems. It's going to be trouble. He didn't sign until 30 seconds were left in the signing period because he wanted the deal he wanted and had Mike Rizzo sweating. He was going to go play for UCLA if they didn't give him the exact deal that he wanted. He's very savvy. He understands the business. He understands that he has the leverage in this situation, not the White Sox. He's a healthy pitcher who's been pitching well, even though he was the worst pitcher in baseball in 2018.
Worst pitcher in baseball.
Now, going into this year, he's one of the best. And then when he's ready to walk, he'll be 29. So if we're going by the traditional 27 to 31, he's still got 3 years on the backside of his prime years.
Well, and the thing, too, like you look at the current market for pitchers, Giolito since 2019, 6th in F4 for all starting pitchers. And just looking at the guys that he's competing with, Lance Lynn obviously getting an extension in 2021. He finished 3rd in the AL Cy Young. He made about $19 million in his extension. Zach Wheeler, the Sox were in on him when he was a free agent. He makes $23.6 million. Robbie Ray just signed with the Mariners after winning a Cy Young for $23 million. Garrett Cole, the big megastar for the Yankees, 9 years, $324 million. He's making $36 a year. Max Scherzer, the big mega contract with the Mets, $130 for 3 years. He's making $43.3 million. So I think obviously the Cole and Scherzer are probably a little bit too much for Giolito. But if you're looking at that Robbie Ray, that Zach Wheeler, that Lance Lynn market, that's I think where he fits in. And I think that if the Sox do want to buy out a year of arbitration, again, it's like he is estimated to make $8.25 million this year. If they want to, up this year to 10, up next year to 12, and then up, that first free agent year to around $23 million, I mean, a deal might be done. And again, that just allows you to spend and gives you a better idea of what your budget is. And locking down your ace for the next 3 years, going to give Rick Hahn a nice, big sigh of relief because you don't have to worry then about in 2024 having to add another starter to this rotation.
And let's not limit, we don't have to necessarily limit this conversation just to Lucas Giolito. Obviously, he, with the fact that his free agency is approaching more rapidly, it makes more sense. But as you've seen with the White Sox, as we've been talking about, they like to lock up guys early in their career. Maybe a guy like Andrew Vaughn is a candidate for an extension. And obviously, all the stuff I said about the offseason being shortened would apply to him too. But we focus on Giolito because you're running out of time in terms of years to do that before free agency.
Along with that, too, I think Crochet would be a very savvy extension, too, because you don't know what he will be. Will he be a starter? Will he be a reliever? You really give him that time and that true security, like, hey, we're just going to take our time on you. I could see some of these extensions being done, but if there's a big one to be done, Giolito is that name. White Sox for life, though, he brings that up. Frank Thomas wasn't a White Sox for life. Mark Burley wasn't a White Sox for life. No. I mean, is that important? I mean, does Giolito deserve that? I mean, is that just him talking?
Technically, he's not a White Sox for life either. So he pitched, I think, a couple starts at the Washington Nationals. It doesn't really
Paul
matter.
Konerko, I think, is still a White Sox for life,
even though he
with
played
Dodger
for the
games.
Dodgers and the Reds. But that doesn't really matter. But he is, I think, and my old partner Chris Tannehill at the Locked On Sox and also at The Score used to say the White Sox window is Lucas Giolito's contract. So whatever that is, if it is the 2024 or 2023 at the end of that, that's their window. If they sign the extension, then it extends, because we've said it. He's an awesome pitcher. And with the numbers you're talking about, he's more up there by the Marcus Stroman numbers. Marcus Stroman made $25 million for 3 years. The average annual value, I think the last year is supposed to be 21, but easily reachable goals to make that $25 million each. I think Lucas will be younger than Marcus Stroman at that same time, and he's just as good of a pitcher. So I'm thinking 25 to 30 million a year will be his market in 2 years when Lucas hits the free agent market.
Yeah, Stroman's already 30, and Giolito will be 28 in July. So, I mean, he's got – I mean, that's the thing, too, is like you compare him to Zach Wheeler, you compare him to Robbie Ray, you compare him to Lance Lynn. It's also the youth, too. You're not only are you paying for, great pitching at 28, you're also, trying to buy out the 32-year-old window, 28 to 32-year-old space where that's going to be probably his peak performance.
And that adds years to what Lucas is going to be able to get, be it in an extension or in free agency.
Right, and again, free agency, like he might not want to buy out that 1 year free agency because that might be the 1 year he can be able to make the most amount of money. Fred says he's still apprehensive about Crochet, big velo drop off, and I still think they've mishandled him and Kopech. I think they've mishandled Crochet at least so far, just because they said they want him to be a starter, and we haven't seen that yet.
We saw the number though earlier. If he agrees to a 5-year, $16 million deal like Aaron Bummer did, would you, as a White Sox fan, like that? Like a very cost certainty, very inexpensive deal for Garrett Crochet? That's a type of deal that a guy like that, who doesn't know his role, has been injured in the major leagues, might have to jump on to.
No minor league experience.
Exactly. He might have to jump on. It's like $16 million for the rest of my career, for the
next 5 years.
Yeah, next 5 years. Solid. Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, what he's shown is he shows the ability to at least be a middle leverage lefty, which is so valuable nowadays, and he can face lefty or righties.
I mean, I think he's one of the most interesting players on this roster right now in terms of what happens after 2022. I mean, I think in 2022, you can kind of at least see the ceiling of what he'll be able to provide for this team. But the ceiling past that, you have no idea what it looks like, because Rick Hahn and the White Sox are still adamant that they want him to be a starting pitcher. And to be honest, we're talking about, rotation here far into the future. Lance Lynn's contract ends, Dallas Keuchel's contract ends, and if Lucas Giolito, ends up going to free agency and going to another team, if that's the way it plays out, you're looking at Cease, Kopech, and you need some more horses to fill out that rotation. Crochet would be the guy that should step into that role. And
talking about the minor league, I mean, mentioning just because I think Crochet, he's probably the person that's most affected by the lockout. If he wasn't on the 40-man roster in 2020 where they needed him and he didn't play in 2021, that could have given him the ability to, when the minor leagues open, he could be starting right now in Birmingham.
But that being said,
makes the bullpen worse.
Right, and he is a valuable part of that bullpen, and I don't think, as currently constructed, they can afford to not have him in the bullpen in 2022 if they want to achieve the kind of goals that they're trying to achieve. Yeah,
it's a tough conversation. He's a very tough one to figure out. We just need to take a quick break, and the best way to support CHGO, what we're doing here on the CHGO White Sox podcast, is up in that corner right there. PointsBet. Use code CHGO when you download the PointsBet app, and when you make a deposit of $50 or more for your first time, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. We got our White Sox Brawler. You can get the Brawler on the logo right there. On a shirt, you can get the CHGO flag. Any of the teams that you support, we have a shirt for you. Again, if you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you. But PointsBet is the place to live your bet life. You can sign up right now and enjoy their live same-game parlays, and that's only with PointsBet. You can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game and try to win money on PointsBet. An online sign-up is now available in Illinois. It takes just seconds to sign up on the PointsBet app, so download the PointsBet app right now and register from start to finish, all from your phone. Use code CHGO. You will get a membership if you have a first-time deposit of $50 or more, and you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And we'll talk about CHGO just a little bit right here. We obviously just talked about Vinnie's article in that first segment. You could go to allchgo.com and see all of the great written content. We got Cubs content, White Sox content, Bears, Blackhawks, Bulls content after they just lost to Philadelphia. You can check them out at allchgo.com. And last night we had a post-game show for the Bulls and 76ers. Loss for the Bulls then. We're going to have a post-game tonight with Greg and Mario for the Blackhawks and Ducks. So check that all out at allchgo.com. And it's we're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. So if you've noticed that you haven't subscribed just yet and you're watching us live on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and help us get to that 10K mark. Now let's move into our second segment. We'll talk about 2020 and 2021 here. We'll talk about the offense, and I think a big thing for fans last year was just getting used to playing 162 games. Again, you have the 60-game season. You have the huge outburst of home runs from the Sox early on in that season, that 60-game season. They start to falter a little bit. They lose the AL Central to Cleveland in 2020. And then in 2021, obviously they win the division, 93 games, but it feels like the power was absolutely sucked out of this team. So looking at 2021 and 2020, the offensive production, are the Sox in a good place right now? Are you worried by the decline from 2020 to 2021, or is that just something that we would have seen in 2020 if we saw 162 games? Vinny, we got some stats and everything, but why don't you give us your opening thoughts on the Sox offense from 2021 to 2020?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's pretty easy. The reason the White Sox didn't hit as many home runs as they could have in 2021 is because Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert missed so much time. And then you talk about a guy in Yasmani Grandal who had a very, very good offensive season. Well, he missed a huge chunk of time in the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about three of your best hitters right there not playing the entire complement of games. Obviously, there were guys who did play the entire complement of games or close to it, and they didn't perhaps match the sort of numbers that folks were expecting. Yohan Moncada comes to mind, specifically in the power department. But, I think if you have a whole healthy season of Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert in 2022, you're going to see those numbers start to climb back up. To answer your question, where do I think I see that offense? I think it looks pretty good. I mean, you're talking about basically somebody at every position on the diamond where you're confident in the bat, with one glaring exception in second base and then maybe another in right field, depending on your thoughts on Andrew Vaughn, right field or DH, I should say. Mm-hmm. But is there room to make a big upgrade before the season begins? Yeah, I think there is. But as for where they are right now, they got a pretty nice lineup, and I think a lot of people should be very happy with at least where that goes down to about the 7th spot in the order.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the reason why 2021 wasn't as productive is you have those injuries. And 2020, I know you like to call it a Mickey Mouse season, Sean.
Oh, my God.
Kind of is. 60 games, you can do different things. And it started like in July or August. So the beginning of the season is great weather. People are used to this type of great weather, so great weather produces great hitting. If we started the season on time here, we'd start in March and it'd be cold. Lousy March weather doesn't lend itself to great hitting. So I don't think anything was wrong with the 2021 Sox as far as the bats were concerned. Those guys will come back to be the back of the baseball cards or more in 2022. I just think that they need somebody at second base. That's why I'm like, I don't really necessarily need Chris Bryant. I don't necessarily need anybody in right field, because I think that platoon in right field is a aggregate good right fielder. It will hit a lot, especially if we do it correctly with Sheets and having Vaughn and sometimes putting an Engel. But second base, you spoke to it. I don't think Leury Garcia is going to be the guy he was in 2021. I think he's going to regress. It's a walk year, and 2021 was a walk year, so he had to get his numbers right to get this 3-year contract they got from the White Sox. I know they were probably going to sign him anyways, but him playing second base every day is not going to be great. He's your 8th or 9th hitter, so that's a good thing. But I would rather have that upgrade, and then later in the week I think we'll talk about trade candidates and to upgrade that actual position. But otherwise, 1 through 8, we're solid as hell. We're going to hit. That's not a problem. We're going to pitch well. That's not a problem. can we hit and pitch well at the top of the league is the question we need to answer.
Well, and can they do it in the postseason too? I mean, you look in 2020 and 2021, they lost by 4 runs against the A's in the 2 games they lost. Oof. And then they lost by 5 runs in game 1 against the Astros, 5 runs in game 2, and then 9 runs in game 4. It just seems like there is moments where this team just can go power outage, where this team just gets absolutely decimated by bad at-bats, strikeouts, and then, the classic Jose Abreu, ground ball double play. Like, it does seem that there are stretches with every baseball team, obviously, where this team gets into a slump. But I don't know. I just feel like we've talked about this, past couple episodes. The Sox need to make their stamp. And I guess that's why we keep coming back to this idea of the bat and the idea of, seeing what we saw in 2020 really be the entire season of third in the MLB in home runs and a complete just onslaught of destroying left-handed hitter or left-handed pitching and destroying the AL Central. I think that Sox fans, were a little bit disappointed in the fact that, there were nice runs where the Sox could be all together and put up 10 runs in, 6 straight games, but then there'll be, a 10-game stretch where it seems like they're clawing for runs.
I'll say this, in terms of 2020, it's not like 2020 was, all sunshine and rainbows every day either.
Right,
I mean,
right.
yeah, you had an amazing season from Jose Abreu, but think about it. One half of that season, Luis Robert was not doing anything. Yoan Moncada was not doing anything for basically the entire season because of how he was dealing with the after effects of having COVID. And if memory serves, even though he came up with a couple clutch hits, White Sox fans weren't too happy with how Yasmani Grandal was hitting in 2020 either.
Walked too much.
Now you're talking too many walks. Yeah, unbelievable.
Hate that.
But I mean, you're talking about a third of your lineup, a third of your star players right there, who folks would say in 2020, when the numbers you're talking about were supposedly so good, you're talking about a third of your lineup not being there necessarily. And I think, like you said, like you just alluded to, that's baseball kind of in a way. And the teams that can put together those big numbers over the course of an entire 6-month season are the teams who minimize those stretches. I mentioned it the other day on this podcast. You remember how grim things looked in that stretch when Tim Anderson had to sit out with the leg issue. That is a kind of thing where if you're just blessed with a little bit of health, maybe that stretch doesn't happen, and we're not thinking about this as severely as we might otherwise be. So it's just about minimizing those times when somebody goes down, can somebody else pick them up? And that's the sport. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're not going to be there in the playoffs at the end of the day, but from a aesthetically pleasing standpoint, you'd certainly like to see that as few times as possible over the course of the summer.
And that's what we brought up. Tim Anderson. I guarantee if we see those slumps and we isolate them, I guarantee Tim either was out of the game, injured, or he wasn't playing at 100%, and he makes the team go. And it's not necessarily because of his attitude and what he does in the field. I think the drop-off from the level of play that he has to the next guy, it's just astronomical. Like, Lurie is a solid replacement, but you're having Tim Anderson, who's an all-star. That's a fall off. You're not going to have the same type of numbers, especially if he's at the top of the lineup, like Tim Anderson makes the lineup go when he's at the top of the lineup. Like we were talking about, you go, we go.
Yeah, and well, I think too, like, it was a tough stretch because, like, that was right when Robert was coming back and he was clicking. But at that point, he was really the only one. Him and Abreu and Grandal were like the 3 that were clicking when TA went down. So it was really only like a 3-man crew at that point. So I mean, I just worry with the Sox. And can we pull up the numbers from 2020? We have this. It'll help me. I do like the progression that they made from 2020 to 2021. It did seem, whether it was Frank Menechino, whether it was Tony La Russa, they became more patient. They became more selective. That shows in the walk rate right there, going from 24th to 4th. That shows in the K rate, going from 6th highest in the MLB to 12th lowest. But it's those isolated power numbers. It's the slugging numbers. It's the home runs that does concern me a little bit. You go from 5th in slugging to 10th. You go from isolated power, which takes out slugging, which is basically slugging percentage, but without the singles. So it goes from 5th to 16th. Home runs 3rd to 19th. I think there's the argument, again, if 2020 happens over 162, you might see a 109 weighted runs created plus from the Sox. You might see those numbers come down, especially with injuries. But it also just felt like this team had a different swagger, maybe, and maybe that was tougher to figure out over 162. But like over 60, it just felt like every single game the Sox were coming in completely like, all right, it's our turn. You have to beat us at the plate. We are going to just pound you into the ground each and every night. And that's what it felt like, I guess, with the Southside Sluggers in 2020. And it felt like we missed that for long stretches in 2021.
Yeah, well, because on a daily basis, what was the storyline? These guys are doing this until Eloy comes back, or just wait until Luis comes back, or, just wait until Yaz comes back. I mean, I think that was the storyline basically for the entire 6 months. And then the way things ended is having an outsized impact on the way people are thinking. In my opinion, you look at what the Astros were able to do in those 4 games from a power standpoint versus what the White Sox were able to do in those 4 games from a power standpoint. And I don't think that those results mean that going into 2022, all the players on the roster need to, be rearranged or anything like that. As Herb, as you and I both ran through, it really seems like everybody is capable of having a very powerful season in this lineup, given health and given the full season, not just 4 games in October where nothing really seemed to go right.
You just need to tell Jose Abreu it's August. We're starting the season. It's August, and he'll start hitting immediately.
I think Jose knows how to read a thermometer. I'm pretty sure I know. He can pop his head out of the dugout and say, "Ooh, a little cold."
Every calendar it just says August.
His Baseball Reference shows it too. It's the only month he hits 300 in. Every other month, his highest other month is September and October at 292. In August, it's 335. So just casually raising your batting average by 50 points in 1 month. And yeah, I mean, that's why, again, that's why he won the 2020 AL MVP, was because he had all those games in August. That whole season was July to August. So, I mean, that was just Jose Abreu's playground.
Yeah, but I also think he's not the guy you got to worry about. I mean, if you're talking about, power numbers and offensive numbers, he's made a career out of finishing the season with basically the same set of numbers every year. It's you're really drilling down, I think, on those stretches that you talked about, and it's minimizing those stretches that makes you one of the best teams in baseball.
Is it a walk year for him too? Didn't he sign an extension for 3 years? So 2021, 2020,
Yes.
and 22.
Yeah. Yes.
So he's going to look
this
for.
year would then be now Andrew Vaughn could take over if they don't re-sign Abreu.
Now,
so
if you want to talk about White
if
Sox
Abreu leaves,
lifer,
Vaughn could slide into
that
first
guy
base.
is a White Sox lifer. Never played any other team. Never played in the minors. Jose Abreu.
Do you think he will be a lifer though?
Absolutely.
I do.
think so?
Look at the
Absolutely.
deal he signed. He signed an under market value deal to come back with the White Sox. He won a MVP in his first year. The next year, he kept on doing Jose Abreu things. And this year, 290, 35, 100. You know what's going to happen. That's what he's going to be until he's like 50.
If Jose Abreu wants to keep playing from 2023 on, he will be doing so in a White Sox uniform.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
is my
Andrew
belief.
Vaughn's not chasing him off first base. He's
don't
good.
think so?
No, he's good,
I mean,
but he's not chasing
we're
him off
talking
first
about
base.
a window. We're talking about a World Series window.
It's not like Jose. Like,
and we're
a couple years ago, I thought Jose was regressing, but no, it seems like Jose is staying at the same
Yeah,
level.
exactly.
But
You're-
one
you're
injury
talk-
can change that. He's 34.
You're talking about him, though, like he's like, they're
35,
carrying
sorry.
dead weight around. He
Yeah.
was arguably the
No,
best
but-
offensive player on the team last year.
Your Jose Abreu hate is coming through.
Absolutely. Oh my God. All right. Here we go. I don't hate Jose Abreu. I'm just saying he's 35 years old. You were talking about him regressing at 2019.
No, I thought he was. I was wrong.
But he was like his numbers were going down, and then in 2020 he's able to turn around. In 2021 he's able to bounce back. But like, I mean, he was going down. I mean, he went 137, 135, 124,
Solid.
141, and then he goes down to 117, 118.
Awesome.
It just seems like he's slowing down. And of course,
Those are OPS plus numbers.
yeah, those are OPS plus numbers. And of course, his worst OPS plus numbers are the first 2 years he's an All-Star. So
I was going to say, yeah, I seem to remember talking to Jose at a couple of All-Star games, and
Hey.
don't remember him having anything to say about regression.
maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. I could be wrong, and I'll be happily wrong if
Send
Jose
all your
Abreu
hate
is a
to
White
Sean
Sox
Anderson.
lifer. If he's a White Sox lifer, I won't have a problem. But I just he's 35 years old. That's
I
all
wouldn't
I'm
be
saying.
surprised if we walk into Guaranteed Rate Field on opening day, and there's already a little curtain over the place where they put 79 up on the upper deck there.
Is that the next number to be retired? 79? Do we think?
Absolutely.
I have another number which I am surprised they haven't retired as yet. It's 13.
Ozzy.
I mean, how much more can you do for a franchise? Rookie of the Year, brought a world championship here as a manager, played how many years as a White Sox shortstop, a solid defensive does an awesome job on your old stomping grounds, NBC Sports Chicago, for the post game. It's one of the main reasons I tune into that.
How many teams around the league have retired the numbers of managers only? Obviously, Ozzie has the playing career to go along with it, but I am curious at how many.
I know the Yankees have Torrey and like Miller Huggins. I don't even know if he had a number. DeRocher probably has his number retired somewhere. But
is Tony's number retired in Oakland?
Let me see. Managers with retired numbers.
I don't know. It should be him or Bob Melvin, who just took over Tony's franchise record for wins. Now he's a San Diego Padres manager, so it might be a little tough to get his number retired up there in Oakland. But yeah, if anybody deserves to be retired, it's Ozzie Guillen.
Well, real quick, Kirk, and I agree. I think Ozzie 13 should definitely be discussed. 79 will be retired. I would be shocked if they didn't. And Kirk is right. The DH position does exist. So I mean, maybe Abreu will just be there until he's 42 years old.
42, yeah.
But again, he's moving off first base at some point, and Vaughn will be there.
But again, right now, I would say the same thing about Jose's defense right now as I would about his offense. You know, I mean, the thought is like, oh, he's getting older. He needs to go to DH. He's playing the best defensive first base of his career.
Yeah, no, he is. And he has been since 2020. I mean, it did seem like something clicked or changed in 2020 where he was able to bounce back. 19 managers, by the way, have had their numbers retired.
Was I right about Miller Huggins?
La Russa was right. Casey Stengel, Joe Torre, Huggins. You were not. Fred Hutchinson, Whitey Herzog, Gil Hodges, and Dick Hauser are your H's. Bobby Cox, Lou Boudreau, Sparky Anderson, Walter Alston, Tommy Lasorda, Billy Martin, Danny Murtaugh, Johnny Oates, Earl Weaver, and then Reg Schoendeist are your 19 managers.
Reg Schoendeist.
The Reg Schoendeist.
Oh, yeah, I should have known. It's like in the back of Busch Stadium right by Ozzie Smith jumping.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if you've seen that. But
I've never been. I've only gone to Miller Park, Wrigley, and G-Rate.
Okay. It's all right. It's not as boring.
Fear of
as
flying, Sean?
No, I mean, no, I'm just poor. I'm 24. I don't have a lot of money. And I'm not covering a White Sox team, jumping on a plane, heading around the country. And I know.
By the way, have you ever seen the Earl Weaver Manager's Corner?
No.
You need to watch it. And if you're out there, you haven't heard the Earl Weaver Manager's Corner, it's one of the best segments of all time. We can play it here, but it's awesome. Well, it will have you laughing forever.
That's your guy, Steve Stone's manager. Anyways, we'll take a quick break here, and we want to mention, if you're enjoying CHGO, it's the CHGO White Sox Podcast, which apparently on Chartable and Apple Podcasts is the #1 baseball podcast in America right now. No big deal. But thank you for all your support on there. And if you want to continue the support, you can download the PointsBet app and download their app, start using it, and use code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you will receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. And in case you missed it, online registration is back. You can download the PointsBet app and sign up and register right from your phone in minutes. It's simple, it's easy with the PointsBet app. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Final topic, guys. We have about 15 minutes to discuss it, and it's very simple. Is baseball fun? I've been having fun talking to you guys about our sport, our lovely sport, baseball, but something that we were doing today was the CHGO Bets Daily podcast, and in the middle of that, Russell Wilson gets traded to the Broncos, and we have frenzy here, and that's part because we have DNVR people, and they're setting up RK in Studio B, and there's a huge rush because this big move's being made, and Herb and I start discussing about the NFL being a 12-month league, and it seems like baseball right now, especially with the lockout, a lot of inactivity. So, Herb, I'm going to go to you first because you basically inspired the topic itself. Is baseball fun, and how can we change Major League Baseball to kind of be like the NFL where it's more year-round?
Baseball to baseball fans is fun.
That's true.
It's very hard, I think, if you're not a person that went to baseball games as a child and or played baseball games to be a baseball fan. Like, if you have no rooting interest in the actual teams, like we are White Sox fans or White Sox affiliated people, that is our life. It consumes us when the season's going on. But after the season's done, like in November, I'm not thinking about baseball. I'm not checking. I will check for Vinnie, and he'll be at the winter meetings or the GM meetings in the fall. I mean, in the winter meetings, of course. And then if we do go to Sox Fest, which we haven't had in a long time, awesome, because we have a post game there from the 108. They have a great time at Reggie's. So I'm looking forward to those specific things. Those are just microcosms of the offseason. They're not big, huge things like the NFL. Today, it took over Twitter that Russell Wilson, first Aaron Rodgers went back to Green Bay, Russell Wilson going to Denver. Those are huge flashpoints. When's the last time the baseball had an offseason huge move like that? And it's like, yeah, let's go. Like, I'm trying to think. It was the Manny / Harper signing, but those happened in February. Like, those happened way late in the season, and people are reporting to camp. I think baseball is fun for baseball fans. And what baseball's problem is, they have way too many people outside the church, and they're preaching to the choir. And they're preaching to the congregation. They need to step outside and find why these people are not stepping into the building. Oh, kids, why? What's going on with us? Do you need the games to be shorter? No one needs that. Just make the game more fun. Make it more. Don't get inside your own way. Like baseball owners right now, getting in their own way. They're crying poor on one side, biblical losses, and then the same family is thinking about buying an EPL team. The messaging's wrong. It's like, are you poor? Or can you buy one of the marquee teams in English Premier League? Right. Which is it? Like, they have so many of those wrong messages in baseball, and they stub their toe every single chance they get. And the commissioner's not doing them any favors either, even though it's not his job. But I think baseball is fun, but it's fun only for the people who are inside, not fun for the people who are outside.
I agree with you. I don't think it's as big of a problem as you and a lot of people that share that opinion do. And I think we've heard that a lot during the lockout is, baseball is killing itself. No one will ever come back to baseball after baseball. Baseball fans will come back to baseball after the lockout. Of course they will, because they like baseball. Right. The thing is, I think it's okay for baseball to not be the most popular thing in the world. Okay. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have either a memory or an idea of this time before the 90s when everybody liked baseball and the world stopped for the World Series and everything Babe Ruth did every day was on the front page of every newspaper in America. And you know what? It's okay that it's not that anymore, I think. It will still go on. Baseball will be played. People will have a great day at the old ballpark, and that'll be that. Is it as popular as the NFL? No. But also, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a regard, too, because I was at the gym the other day. That's the big headline there. That should have been at the top of the show. Can't believe that. But I catch a peek at ESPN on one of the other machines, and they led off a show with talking about how long someone's hand is. Like, who cares?
Yeah, with the NFL Combine, it was Kenny Pickett's hand.
That's who cares? I don't care about that. And so you're talking about the NFL being a 12-month league. Well, it's not if that's the top story of the day. It just is because so many people think that that's interesting. And baseball goes on the entire year. You just talked about the off-season calendar. There's something every month in between. And not only that, the shortest off-season. The baseball, the World Series could end in early November. Spring training starts in mid-February. You don't got a lot of time to fill. I believe that, like you said, the dragging on of free agency is uninteresting, right? Because you've got sports like basketball and football where that all happens in like 2 days. Where everybody signs all these contracts right away after the clock strikes midnight and stuff. So yeah, of course, there's tons of stuff they could fix to appeal to a lot more people, to appeal more to their own already existing fans, but. To answer your question, yeah, baseball's fun. It's just that NFL gets more attention.
Herb's guy, Zach Burns, says MLB thanks both Russell Wilson and A-Rod for the distraction with the whole. I mean, right now the MLB and the MLB union are meeting. They had 2 meetings today so far. They met for 20 minutes most recently, and there was more to come apparently from Evan Drellich of The Athletic. But I don't know. I think that there's something about the NFL and how they truly have capitalized on TV. You look at the NFL Combine, and they're talking about Kenny Pickett's hand that's 8.5 inches wide because I think they've made a true tailored to TV and for fans product. I don't know if the MLB is truly able to create those products that are enjoyable and watchable. The NFL draft is going to take over all of sports for the 3 days that it happens in April. The MLB draft, the first round can't even grab, I think, even MLB fans' attentions. Like, all right, who did we draft? And then we'll get away from it. And part of that is because it's in the middle of the season. It's tough because that's right after college baseball when that ends. But, like, why not make it an all-star break event? Why not make it more of something
was
where...
last year.
Okay, well, there we go. And I think, too, like with 2019, like you had the delayed signings with Machado and Harper. Keuchel and Kimbrel didn't even sign before the spring training started and the seasons even started. 2020, you had the pandemic and then the delay to even get the season started. 2021 was, thankfully went off without a hitch outside of some, minor COVID stuff. But then you're back in 2022, and now we're stuck in a lockout with games canceled. Like, it is just frustrating. It's a frustrating 4 years.
I mean, think about their Hall of Fame. They do that in the middle, like on a Sunday, while baseball games are going on. Why not take advantage of that MLB All-Star break, which is, 4 days? Just have it then. Honor the players who are going into your Hall of Fame, have a standalone Hall of Fame induction. That would be much better. But they play that against other games that are currently going on with the players that are playing now.
Or maybe one Sunday in August, you just don't play.
Either way, yeah, just like, hey, let's all honor people who are going into our grand shrine. Right. Let's make sure that they get the proper respect, not just by the teams who are, like I went to the one that Frank Thomas and Tony La Russa went into. I went there because Frank Thomas, but I enjoyed Bobby Cox going in and Maddox and Smoltz didn't go in, Glavine went in. So I enjoyed seeing all the rest of the fans from the Braves and the Yankees and the White Sox there to celebrate baseball. That's what they should have. A standalone day to celebrate the greats of the game instead of, hey, we're going to do this in the middle of August in the afternoon while your game is going on, while you get to miss your series. Like the White Sox are facing the Guardians, said it right, in the third game of a season, and now we're inducting Hawk Harrelson too. So choose.
Yeah, I think with that Sunday too, I mean, like, it's probably impossible to build a baseball field out in Cooperstown, right? And it's probably impossible to play a game on
field.
Sunday night baseball.
It's not great.
True, but I mean, like, they're able to make something viable out in Dyersville, Iowa.
I mean, it's not too far away from
build
that.
It, they will come.
Yeah.
I mean, and you already have people out in Cooperstown. Go to the place where the game is celebrated. It worked for the Field of Dreams, even though, the MLB and Fanatics can't make jerseys available for any of their fans, those Field of Dreams replicas. They went up, and then they sold out, and they have not been replenished. But, like, why not make more of those TV made for games? This is the only thing that the MLB is going to show you because it's the only thing that we want you to see. We want you to see the Hall of Fame. We want you to see the Hall of Fame game. This is an important, historical day in our calendar where we are going to enshrine people into our Hall of Fame. I think it's just, it's so baseball of them to, realize, like, we have 162 games. We have this long, sprawling schedule, but we don't have the time to make any of those 162 important. And they did that with the corn game last year.
That was awesome.
I mean, outside of that, it's like you have the regular season, you have the postseason, you have the World Series. That's it.
Look at how many eyes are in that game. Like, everybody was excited, enthralled. Yankees help it out. White Sox help it out. The walk-off helps it out. But everybody was talking about baseball because it's a weird, odd game that's happening in Iowa. A movie they watched, they enjoyed, and wow, baseball, look at there. We're not having games in the same stadium. We're not wearing the same uniforms. We're doing something different. We're having eyes to this moment, this event, and it is an event. And I think we saw on Apple TV Plus is going to be having primetime games on Friday. That's a good thing. This is more moving it towards, hey, we're fun over here. Come and watch us too.
And I think, too, we talked about the AFC West getting better. Now the Broncos have a great quarterback. The Raiders have a decent quarterback in Derek Carr. Obviously, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert in Kansas City and San Diego. Well, I guess now it's do we have? Is
Dollar.
that really in the jar?
Dollar.
We're talking NFL.
Dollar.
Oh, come
Dollar. You call them San Diego Chargers.
Right,
It's a
I'll
dollar.
put it in the dollar. I'll put a jar in the dollar. So, okay, new rule. It's if you hesitate at Cleveland, if you say their old team name, or if you say San Diego Chargers.
Apparently, this applies sports-wide.
Okay,
Sports.
all right, all sports. So if you screw anything up sports-wise,
If you say the
a
San
dollar
Diego
in the jar.
Rockets too, $1.
Right, but
Clippers too.
The point I was trying to say, like, the AFC gets better, the AFC West gets better, but like you look at the AL Central, and we talked about this, like, it seems like it's an even, it's an ebb and flow with like teams taking over. Like Right now it's the White Sox era. Then it was the Twins era from 2019 and 2020. Then it was Cleveland, where they went to the World Series in 2016. Then it was Kansas City, where they won the World Series in 2015. Then Detroit was going on their spending spree. Then it was Minnesota. Then the Sox won the World Series. Like, we're talking about tanking right now with the lockout. We're talking about competitive balance. I just don't know if even the product that they're putting out, the 162, is entertaining enough.
Well, if you're looking to get new fans into the game, you probably shouldn't be starting in the AL Central. That
No.
would be my guess. I mean, you got to point to, I think people in the Midwest always get very upset when you turn on Sunday Night Baseball and it's the Red Sox and Yankees again. But guess what? The Red Sox and Yankees are usually good, and they have the best rivalry in baseball. Yeah. So, if you're talking about an entertainment product, that's not a bad place to start. You got to. But again, you're right. It's about creating teams league-wide that can be featured in that way. And to be honest, I think they do a fine job of putting the best teams on TV. It's just, is some guy who never watches baseball or some gal who never watches baseball going to turn on, Padres and, Mets in the middle of the season or something like that?
You're not going to see Rockies on Sunday Night Baseball, and no offense to Rocktober out there, but that was a big moment when the Sox played Cleveland here on Sunday Night Baseball. The Sox were hosting. It was Bieber versus Giolito, right?
Yep.
That was a big
Power
game.
went out.
What was that?
Power went out at the rate during that game.
Power went out. They had I think it was
McCann home run.
James McCann home run. I think Dallas Keuchel was doing an interview where they had a leaky ceiling up in the background. It was a mess of a game, but that was so much fun watching that game with White Sox Twitter being involved. And it seems like even when we have a game that's in middle of the week and Wednesday against KC or whatever, obviously that's a completely different feel. But it just feels like that's 1 out of 2 years with the Sox. Sunday Night Baseball. It just feels like those special moments are so far and in between for certain baseball fans. Final topic, real quick, and I know we got to wrap, but this is from Zach. Every American would recognize Aaron Rodgers. They wouldn't recognize Mike Trout at a Walmart. Does the MLB have a marketing problem, or is it just they're in such a tough spot right now where they just need to maybe streamline their game?
I mean, I think all of those things can be true, right? I mean, yeah, they probably don't do that great of a job, but also, no offense to Mike Trout, he's not a guy who you want to put in a bunch of commercials.
He's not going on Pat McAfee.
He's not gonna act in a commercial the way Aaron Rodgers or even Patrick Mahomes, who's not, in my opinion, not a very good actor, is going to sign up to do. You know what I mean? And again, it goes back to the fact. But here's the thing: you don't necessarily need to compete with the king of sports in the NFL. In my opinion, you can be fine just being baseball. You just got to make baseball better.
And Zach, I guarantee, if you ask Aaron Rodgers, he would love the anonymity that Mike Trout has. Mike Trout has the money, and walking down the street, unless he's in South Philly or Jersey, no one's gonna know who Mike Trout is. He's 6'2", he's built, but he's not like a freak or anything like that. You guarantee Aaron Rodgers would be like, yeah, if I could walk around in California with no one noticing
Rodgers
me,
loves
awesome. Perfect.
Rodgers loves it.
And the money, my check's clear too? Nice.
His check's clearing. Everybody knows him. He can just drop a tweet.
Yeah, that
and
sucks.
It would become
probly for him.
No, he loves it. I don't know what.
You know how Aaron Rodgers could get some anonymity? He could wear a mask.
Zzz, look at Vinnie. Just at the end,
This is the CHGO White Sox podcast presented to you by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. Again, don't forget to check out Vinnie with the puns. He has an article up on allchgo.com talking about Lucas Giolito and the White Sox.
Did he get canceled?
Who, Vinnie?
No, Aaron Rodgers.
No, that's not a real thing.
I think he probably thinks he did.
Can I get canceled, please?
Can we cancel Herb?
Somebody cancel me.
There was my favorite.
I need only 10% of 200 million.
My favorite thing that I saw from the launch of CHGO were all the people being like, "Can Herb unblock me now?" So I mean, you're just blocking all the people that can cancel you. I think.
I mean, if you're blocked, you probably had a good reason to be blocked.
Wrong. Oh, I'm not.
Like,
I'm
I don't
not
block
throwing
people
a pity
unless
party
they're
for the
just
people that are
unless
blocked.
they say some MFs or some words towards me. I can have a conversation and an argument on Twitter.
You're a
if you've
radio
been following
producer.
me, come on now.
Yeah.
If you say some harsh words, I'm a grown man. I don't need people calling me out my name.
Don't forget to check out Vinny's article, Lucas Giolito, the White Sox, how the MLB lockout affects getting an extension done. You could check him out on Twitter, too, at Vinnie Duber. You could check out my man who wants to be canceled, at Ecknerwall23. That's Herb Lawrence. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter, at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow CHGO White Sox at CHGO_White Sox and CHGO at CHGO_sports. Again, this is the CHGO White Sox podcast presented to you by PointsBet. Live your bet life with promo code CHGO. We're ending it strong with a cough. Thank you for listening.
Sean's dying.